Patchwork. This is your review for 2. Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today I'll be going through Patchwork and how it plays with 2 players. Now Patchwork is just a 2-player game, so no more, no less. And it's a game about filling up your quilt and at the end trying to acquire the most buttons. Now buttons in this game are currency. You start off with 5. And as the game progresses, you'll be getting these patches of different sizes, different types, and different currency options, as you'll see in a second. And you want to fill up your board. Now, filling up your board, for each space you have unfilled at the end of the game, you lose 2 buttons. So, like I said, your goal at the end of the game is to have the most buttons at the end of the game. So, if you have too many spots unfilled, you may not win the game. So, in this game, you have 2 options on your turn. You can either take one of the 3 patches in front of this pawn by paying the buttons that are on the patch and then moving that amount of time. So what you'll do is you'll take a patch, one of the first 3 after the button marker. You put it down, place it on your board, and then move that many spaces. Now whoever's furthest behind will get to go, so there's a possibility you may get 1 or 2 turns in a row before the opponent gets a turn. Now the other option that you have in the game is just to acquire some buttons. So you move your marker in front of the other person's marker, and however many spots you move, you get that many buttons. Now a couple of things about the game as you move along in the game. As you can see on the board, there's a couple button spots. That means for every patch that has buttons on it, you will get that many when you cross this button. So if you had a board with 3 permanent buttons on it and you pass a button, you'll get 3 income, 3 more buttons to spend as you go around and you want to buy more patches. The other thing are these 1 square patches. If you're the first one to cross it, then you get that patch and get to add it to your board. So if you have 1 space just left out in the open, you can add this patch to your board. And like I said, you go until both players reach the very center, or this board is double-sided, until both players reach the center of this board, and you count your buttons and see who wins. Now let's see what I think of Patchwork. Now let's talk about the rules. The rules in Patchwork are only 6 pages long. And it's nice, concise, easy. You really only have 2 options on your turn. Move your marker ahead of the other person to get more buttons, or take one of the first 3 patches ahead of this marker and then add it to your board. So it's really just those 2 actions you can take on your turn. Patchwork with the rules is very, very accessible. It's easy to get to the table after not playing for a while, which I really enjoy. The setup is easy. I don't think it takes up too much room. At the very beginning though, you do have all your patches laid around the board, which may take up a little bit of room, but as you start to acquire them, you can definitely condense the space. 3x3 card table is plenty for this game, and it's nice and visually appealing once you get your board done and completed. It's a nice game to look at. So table size is nice. The rules are easy. So far, it's checking all the boxes. Now the gameplay does start off pretty easy. You'll just be picking this up. You won't have too many options. Your board is wide open, but as you start gathering these patches and your board gets a little constrained, if you're not very spatially conscious, you can get yourself in a little bit of a bind. And any of these patches you pick up, you can turn upside down, you can flip them any way. They don't have to be right side up. So it's almost like a puzzle. You may see a patch a few spaces away that you can't quite buy this turn, and you hope the opponent doesn't buy it, but you have a space that would fit perfectly in. And that's what makes this game kind of fun, is it has like a puzzly aspect to it as well. And along with that, it almost has kind of an economy aspect to it as well. There's almost 2 kind of economy in this game. There's the buttons that you're going to get as you pass these button spots on the main tile. You actually get an income based on the amount of buttons that you have on the board. Now these are different from the buttons that you are used to pay your patches with, but that's what makes it fun. Is do you buy these patches that have buttons on them that can give you reoccurring buttons as the game goes on. But some of these patches also have a time income as well. It may only cost you one button, say for this patch or so, if you guys can see that, but also cost you 5 time. So that means you move further along the track. Now the further along the track you move, your opponent may get a couple more turns than you to pick up some smaller patches, but it also means you finish the game first. Now, which can be advantageous because the further along you are, you get these little single patches, which is also kind of nice. So there's a lot of balances in this game. There's a lot of things to think about. You may only have 3 choices in the amount of patches you can take. You may even have less than that depending on how many buttons that you have. Start the game with 5 buttons, which is kind of small, and as the game goes on, some of these income buttons you hit, you may start getting 10 every time you pass one. It's just nice, fun. It's always different. There's always a couple strategies you can kind of employ, but at the same time, I think it's kind of a light game. And that's why I like Patchwork a lot, because you can really dive deep into what I'm going to choose. But sometimes things might just not pan out for you. You may be getting button income for a couple turns in a row. But the game is light, it's easy, and it's kind of relaxing. It's not as cutthroat as some of these other games. Yes, your opponent may take a patch that you want, but there's other patches along the way. And at the beginning, like I said, you got an open board. And as you start getting a little bit tighter in there, the options kind of start running out. But that's what makes this game fun, is a lot of these patches are various sizes, it may cost a little bit more, but a little bit less time, and it may give you a passive kind of income as you go around the board. And that's what I think makes Patchwork, a really fun, interesting game. Now, like I said, Patchwork is easy to get to the table, and that's why I can just pick it. I can pick it off the shelf. I can say, hey, let's play a game of Patchwork. We can get this thing done in 30 minutes. It is just a 2-player game, so don't think it goes. It's even in the title, Patchwork for 2. So, I know you may be watching this channel thinking, yeah, it's board games for 2. You're going over a 2-person game. But I'd just like to reiterate that this game says it's for 2, but is it any good? And my conclusion is yes. I think that it's almost a must-have in a collection, because it's easy to play, it's easy to get to the table. It takes 30 minutes. It can be a nice filler game, can be a nice starter game. And as far as some of these other games where I've said I like to just play it once, and then I'm like, okay, that was good. Patchwork, I can see myself playing 2 or 3 times in a row, just because how quick you can get it to the table, how fun and easy it is, how lighthearted. Like I said, it's definitely not a ground and pound game, not an in your face, not a take that. The only take that is you may take a piece that the other person, or you may make it to the single tile faster than they do. But it's really a fun, easy-going game. As this review for 2 concludes, I can say that Patchwork for me is a must-add to any collection. Yes, it may not be able to scale. It is Patchwork for 2, but as a light-hearted, easy-going game, I don't think there's a more accessible game to get to the table that's fun and engaging and as economical, with the buttons and the time that you can get to the table. I think this is a fantastic game, and I think it is a must-have for any 2-player collection. Thank you guys for listening. Until next time.